So what do you think of these latest threats from Donald Trump towards Iran?
Well, President Trump has been using really strong language. In his mind, might wins. In his mind, applying maximum pressure and overwhelming force is going to bring the Iranians to the table and basically is going to make them submit to American will. But that is very unlikely to happen. I don't think the Iranian authorities respond well to force. And in fact, they see this as a declaration of war, and they are more likely to be even more harsher and resolute in responding to Trump.
What has been Iran's response to this so far?
Well, Iran sends parallel messages. On the one hand, they insist that they don't want to engage in war, but they also warn that any attack by the US, even if it's minimal, if it is measured attack, Iranians will respond in force. And they have already highlighted that they could close the Strait of Hormuz. That's where 20% of oil from the Persian Gulf travels to the global market. So that the risk for the spread of conflict and the crisis is very significant.
So the US president has talked of a massive armada, as he put it, heading to Iran. Do you know what sort of military assets and firepower is being amassed in the region?
Well, I think President Trump is basically trying to engage in gunboat diplomacy, bringing in various aircraft carriers and naval force to the region and putting them under the command of CENTCOM, which is housed in Qatar, really sends the wrong signal. From his point of view, he is signaling that the US is locked and loaded for action. But it does send a message that the US is probably seeking a lot more than a nuclear deal. It is seeking regime change, and that signal worries the Iranian authorities.
What about the timing of these threats, Shahram? They come after weeks of speculation about whether the US would attack Iran following the crackdown against anti-regime protesters by Iranian security forces. There was no US action then, so why now?
Well, I think, yes, again, signaling has been a bit confused. The US said it would respond to authorities if the Iranians, if they killed protesters. There was no response from the Trump administration, even though we know many have been killed. The US is now insisting on a nuclear deal. So there has been mixed messages and signaling going from the US administration. But at the time, the US naval force was really committed elsewhere to Venezuela, and it took time for the naval force to position itself near Iran.
And what's been the response of the wider region to this potential escalation, Shahram?
Very worried. People in the region are extremely worried about escalation in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, elsewhere in the region. They can see how conflict can really get out of hand. It won't be a contained conflict, contained tit for tat. It could escalate. It could bring their security into question. And more to the point, it can bring their economic security into question. If the Strait of Hormuz is closed, they will have difficulty sending their, oil to the global market. So as a result, I think Saudi Arabia, that has been mending fences with Iran, has now lobbying the United States for some kind of peaceful resolution and warning against military attack.